In my other role, I'm a rabbi, and I sit sometimes in the rabbinic court in Jerusalem. This court deals with divorce matters. I see people in
אחד, שתיים.
dramatic moments in divorce proceedings. I also see the process of writing and delivering the divorce document from the men to the women. I want to show you something very strange that I have noticed. Look at the text of the divorce document written in Jerusalem 2023. For the number of years we count here in the city of Jerusalem that sits on the Shiloach and on the water of the cisterns. Why is it important that this sentence be written within the 12 lines of the divorce document? Did you know that Jerusalem sits on the Shiloach water? To understand this, we needed to go back in time and better understand the geographical space in Europe. In generally, many times when you want to understand the halacha, Jewish law, you have to go back to the beginning of Jewish urbanization in Poland in the 16th century. The Jewish experience in early modern European urbanism is a focus of my research. In the divorce document, the names of the divorcees and the name of the place must be written accurately in order to identify the divorcees very carefully. However, many European countries have cities with the same name. This phenomenon is particularly common in Germany. A local noble family that owned large areas built cities in several places, and all of them were named after it, such as the city of Rothenburg. There are six such cities in Europe, one in Poland, one in Switzerland, and another 4 in Germany. Another example is Frankfurt. There are two large cities in Germany with this name. A solution to the challenge of the city identification was made by using the name of the river near them. As in Frankfurt, one city is called Frankfurt Oder and the other Frankfurt am Main. The river in Europe provides exact coordinates for the location of the city. The rabbis also ordered to write the rivers near the city in the divorce document to identify it. And not only in cities with the same name, but every city that is mentioned in the divorce document, the water source near it is also mentioned. The river in Europe, in early modern times, is not only a place to travel, but is bustling center of urban life, transporting goods, grinding flour, pumping water, washing and bathing. The city is many ways sits on the river. That is how it is called by everyone. The use of the name of the river as an identifier of the city is not only a geographical fact. The residents of the city treat the river as a significant part of their residential area, which is why they call their city the city that sits on the river. So, now let's go and look for the river near Jerusalem. When Jews arrive in Jerusalem and renew the Jewish settlement there, the tradition of writing the name of the city along with the river next to it continue. The Jews looked for the river next to Jerusalem to mention it in the divorce document and found it in the small spring next to the old city, the Shiloach. It just happens that this is the wording of the divorce document written today in Jerusalem. Yerushalayim de Yatva al mei Shiloach ועל מי Borot. By understanding the history of Europe for many years, it is possible to get a better understanding of the halachic instructions that they held today in the rabbinical court. Another example I want to show is from the questions and answers literature. In the Q&A literature, we get a glimpse into the daily life of the Jews and the issues that preoccupied them through the questions they addressed to the rabbis. By studying this literature, we can better understand the life of the Jews and their perceptions, and sometimes also the impact on our time. A Jewish woman in the state of Israel, before she gets married through the Rabbinic Institute, must bring a certificate that they dunked in a mikveh before marriage. Married women who follow halacha go to the mikveh after her period. Today, there are equipped bathrooms in the mikveh, and the length of time for bathing before immersion is determined. But this phenomenon of bathhouses for women in the city is a new phenomenon related to the rise of the city in the early modern period. In the Middle Ages, in many places, immersion of purification was done naturally and freely in the river without community supervision. However, the immersion in the river was at times a traumatic experience for women because of their fear of men watching them and even forcing themselves upon them. This led to strictness in concealing their immersion time. The Urban Mikveh Tahara institution developed in the city in the late Middle Ages to solve this problem and allow a regulated place for immersion, but the problems did not end there. The urban mikveh was built in the center of the urban population, often near the synagogue building. The women who were going to the mikveh had to pass through the courtyard of the synagogue while the public was present. It was very unpleasant for the women to pass there. The issues appears in the answer of the Marshal. I will read in the original language. English speaker can read the translation. שבית המרחץ עומד בחצר בית הכנסת ומרגישים בם כל ההמון בכניסתן למרחץ שעת טבילתן. כי אין המנהג לשם שיכנסו אנשים בערבית לבית הכנסת להתפלל, והצנועות מתביישות, ומקצת נשים צנועות מרוב הבושה כבשו זמן טבילתן בפני בעליהן. That is the urban mikveh in the center of the Jewish city that replaced the river, created another problem of difficulty for women to enter it in the early evening hours. To solve this problem, the local rabbis decided to allow women to enter the bathhouse at night, so that they would not have to see men leaving the synagogue. In the river, it was not possible to immerse at a late hour, but inside the urban mikveh building, it was possible to turn on a light and perform the bathing and immersion even at late hours. Thus, they began to enter the urban mikveh at night, and the urban mikveh began to provide bathing service before the immersion. But the problems did not end there. The halachic leaders were concerned that if women only went to the mikveh at a late hour, they would not do the entire process of bathing and preparation in a thorough manner as required by the halacha. To avoid the fear that the bath would be done in haste, the rabbis of Padova proposed a solution. שכל הנשים החופפות בלילה יעמידו כלי הקרוי שעה והוא אחד מכ"ד חלקים ביום שלם, וגזרו על הטובלת להתעסק בחפיפה כל אותה שעה למען לא ימהרו במלאכתן לקצר החפיפה ולעשות ארעי. The modern hourglasses became very useful in the city at the beginning of the modern era. They were actually part of what is called urban time, which includes precise and mechanical measurement of times. And a natural time frame was created for the preparation process and was determined by the halacha. Nature and the river were pushed aside, and the modern mikveh took their place. And once again we see how the lives of those who follow the customs of halacha in 2023 State of Israel were shaped to a large extent through norms and customs from European urbanism in modern times. I would like to end with a beautiful quote from the researcher אריך פרודנשטיין. בהיותי נער בעיר הולדתי, פרנקפורט דה מיין, שמעתי שבכל גט שנכתב בה נרשם על נהר מיין ועל נהר בראובך. ברם, אין נהר בראובך נמצא בעיר פרנקפורט. מוריי הסבירו לי שבאם אדם ישים את אוזנו על האדמה בחצרותיה של פרנקפורט העתיקה, הוא עדיין נשמע את זרימתם של מי הבראובך. גורלו של הבראובך מוכיח כי עלינו להטות אוזן לרחשיו הגנוזים של רחוב היהודים העתיק, והללו לא רק יעשירו את ידיעתנו את העבר, אלא גם ימלאו תוכן את ההווה. Thank you. תודה רבה. וברשותכם אני מתנצל, אבל נשמח לשאלות בעברית ויהיה לי יותר קל.
היי, אני שי מאוניברסיטת אביב, ותודה רבה, היה ממש מרתק. רציתי לשאול אותך דווקא על הלכות גירושין במדינות עם יהודים מזרחים, או באופן כללי כאילו מחוץ לאירופה, איך גם שם אני מניחה יש ערים בשמות שונים, ואיך הפרידו, אם הפרידו בצורה אחרת,